So this video is going to guide you through an installation of a smart node. Let me firstly speak about prerequisites. So what you will need is a VPS server with Ubuntu installed 20.04 or 22.04. The server should have at least 1 GB of RAM and 1 CPU core, and it needs to have a public IP address. I might be doing another video later how to do it with private IP and then do nothing in port forwarding, but maybe let's firstly go with the straightforward and easy one. What you also will need is a wallet with at least 20,001 Anok for the collateral address and for the transfer fees. So I think where we can start with is to generate two addresses. So we are speaking about receiving addresses. So let me do a new one, and you can, for example, label it now collateral 50K, 20K for the 20K coins. And you can do a new one and call it so that you can recognize it later. Transfer fee. Smart node. Okay, fine. So we have now here the two addresses. What you need to do is that you send exactly, and this is important, 20K of coins to this address. Okay, so copy the address, send, exactly 20,000. Make sure you're not putting that one, because then it's not anymore 20,000, so the fee is coming on top. Okay, so 20,000, fine, send. Yes. Okay, and then you send one coin to the fee address. One coin, send. So under transactions, you see now the two transactions, and before you can proceed here with anything, you need to ensure that they have been confirmed, which is currently not the case. So what we can do now in the meantime, while we are waiting that this is going to get confirmed, we can move to our server. So what I'm doing there is I'm using PuTTY to connect over SSH. So to do this, what you will need to do, you will need to have your server IP address. You can add it in here. If you also plan, of course, to connect data, you can give it here just a name like smartnode as an example, smartnode 1. You can say save. So later you can just go here then and say load. So it will add this IP. And then you just say open. This is coming only the first time, so accept the keys. And then it depends on your provider if you can directly log in as root or need another user. But let's see. So in this case, I can log in as root with a password. And I'm connected to the server. So what do we need to do here? The first thing, what is quite important, is that you are opening the firewall. Okay, so what you need to do is you need to allow two ports to be able to be connected. Okay, so you are doing this UFW allow and then the port. That's the first port. And the second port. Okay, so first important step. Second, we need the software, the daemon we want to run. So what we are going to do, we are downloading the daemon directly from the internet. Okay, so it's downloading. It's an ls -la, you can show the directory. Here is the file, and now we need to extract it like this. And if you now check, you have there two files. So what you can do, because only files which are under /user/bin will be, let's say, automatically found by the system or started by the system. So every command I'm doing is basically run from there. So I'm now going to copy these two commands into that directory. So I don't need to worry where I am to be able to run them. Okay, fine. So now I can just say, as an example, CLI, run the command from anywhere. Good. So what I'm then always doing is that I'm already starting. Also, we don't have a configuration, nothing done yet. I'm starting this daemon. Why I'm doing this? This is that it can already start to synchronize the blocks. The point here is that if you have a system which is only having this 1 GB of RAM and 1 CPU core, and you are doing this when already the configuration is there, there's a very high likelihood, at least I've experienced it several times, that your node is getting postponed directly because the CPU is going up to 100% when it's starting to sync from the beginning. If you just started before, running it before, it will have already synced up without any configuration. Then you can do the rest. Then you copy the configuration back. And then if you start, it's not having such a high load. And you are, let's say, faster connected to the network. So there are different ways to do it. So in theory, you could also now do the complete configuration, copy the configuration, and then start it. It will also work. But if you're having potentially very weak or, let's say, system with only low CPU core and only 1 GB of RAM, that way is something I recommend and found quite useful to this point. Okay. So what else? What you could do now before, you could also do the netstat. -anpt. Okay. So the net tools are not yet installed, would be most likely the same for you. There are a bunch of tools which are helping you. So let's quickly install them. Here we go. So why is that useful? Because now you can see this system and you can see on this system on which ports there is something listening. And as you can see, as of now, the ports we were opening before, the main port, which is 9627, is not here anywhere. which means the daemon is not running, which is true because we didn't start it yet, right? So what I will do now, I will just start the daemon. And I will duplicate the session, login with the second console. Why? Because this is now running here. You can also interrupt this process, but I just leave it like this. You can run again that command. And the first thing you will notice now is that there is on this port now a listener, which means that this is accepting connections. And what is more important, you see that there are also connections coming in from the outside world. Not too much yet, but let's see. So another advantage of this is now you can move into this directory here. And what you can do, you see that already a lot of files have been created. And one key file is a debug log. So if you do a tail -f on the debug log, you see what is currently happening on the system. Okay. And you also see that there are, for example, this system is one which is currently not working. And the other thing is that you will find, if you find already here a lot of issues in there, then you know that something is not working with your setup. Because the problem is, if you are, for example, it could be that your service provider is having a firewall in front and is not accepting the opening of that port automatically, or something with your local firewall is still preventing the connection to this, right? So if you start the smart node with your configuration and you're having that kind of issues, your system is going to get post-banned, and it will be much more trouble to get it out of this than, you know, taking these precaution and checking what is happening. So what should happen, or what should work, of course, now, because the daemon is running, this is another test you can do. So if you are now go to the smart node, but you're changing here the port, first of all, you say other telnet, okay, and you change the port here, and say now the port of the daemon. What this is doing now, you are trying now from your system, here from my system, I'm now trying to connect to the daemon we started on our server, right? And this needs to work. So if it's working, you're getting this connect, okay? Which means you're not seeing anything, but you see that you're connected, which means it's working, okay? If it's not working, you will see something like connection closed or something like this, okay? Fine. Okay, so it seems to be that we are having a working daemon here. Another test you can do now is that you ask for the current block count to see if the system is actually synchronizing or not. This can, of course, now take a second because it's also currently busy doing the synchronization. So it has synchronized 80 blocks so far, which is good. We can go back to this later to see if it's still progressing or not. Okay. So next step, if we are going back here now, we are seeing here both payments were confirmed, and you can see here that it's saying payment to yourself. So that worked. This is fine. This is exactly correct. If you're going to the overview, of course, nothing changed too much, except that the fee amount is now gone from this. Okay. Fine. So what we are now doing as the next step, we are opening up the debug console. Okay. And this is where you need now to run some additional commands to get all of this running. Okay, and what you do here now, you are saying here on the console, smartnode outputs. This is the key you will need, and it will be only shown if this transaction worked, right? And then you need in the end this beautiful command here. So I think it's actually more or less self-explaining. Okay, so here txnid from smart output, which is that one. Okay, you see the one here, which is also there, the IP address of our server. Quickly check. Okay, I copied it here. The wallet fee address. Remember that we created that one. If you don't remember, here we go. Copy address. Okay. And then you take this complete command. And you put it on the console. There is again here now a payment fee, which is a good indication because it will show you that everything worked. What you can also see here now is your secret key, which is important, and the configuration, which has been automatically done for you. So this is a position where you will find now the configuration that you will need to put across to the server, right? So if you're going to that directory now, you see here the configuration. Fine. Let's see where we are with our synchronization process. Okay. So quite a bit to go. But what we can do now, just to show it here, as said, if you have a system which is not that strong, you can leave it, but you can also already start doing the rest of the configuration, of course. So you can open that one. Here's your configuration. Now you can just add all of this, very easy. In that configuration file, you can do a cut on that file to double check that everything is in there. So of course, for the agent to be able to pick up the configuration, it needs to be restarted. You remember that this is still running here because of the synchronization, which is still there. So if you want it to cleanly shut down, what you can do is you do a ps-ef, a pipe grep, and then the daemon. So this is showing you now, this is the process ID of the daemon. And what you then can do is say kill -15. and the PID of the daemon, which is basically telling it to stop or terminate. Okay, and you can see it stopped. And here it also stopped, right? And now you can just restart the daemon. And as you can see now, it's behaving differently. So it's not anymore blocked. It's just saying it's starting, right? Again, you can do now different ways to see if it's running. Where it's always good to go, as I said, is to do a tail on the debug log, because if there are any problems, it will tell you. Otherwise, it will start to process. Okay. So this is processing now. The daemon is running again. So now it's also good if you run with the Anokas CLI smartnode status. And what you see here now is normal, because the sync hasn't been done fully. And as long as it's not fully synced, you will see that message. So don't get worried, it's okay. If you go now here to smart nodes, you will see all the smart nodes which are currently connected. If you go to my smart node, you now see only your smart node. And if it's on the status enabled, it's a good sign. It means that everything worked and your smart node is working and operational. So what you should do at this point is keep an eye on that status and keep an eye on this. As soon as everything is fully synced, it will switch to status enabled. And that's it. So everything seems to be working. I will wait now until the blocks are synced, and then I can most likely also show you the status enabled. Okay, so I think we should be nearly there now. Let's see. Okay, still there. Let's quickly check for the block. Okay. See that the block is not changing anymore, so we should be up to date. And here we go. Now you're in state. The smart node is in state ready, status ready, so everything fine. We are fully synced up to the latest block. And we are still enabled. So everything worked out. As said, you don't need necessarily to wait before everything is synced. If your system is powerful enough, everything is working fine, you can also directly on the first step stop the daemon before anything is synced, copy the conf and start the daemon, because this will start working anyway. But sometimes if you are struggling and you get your system post-banned, it's maybe better to sync before. Okay.